Hey everybody, happy Monday. We are here doing the Astro-Babble. Couple minutes late, like an hour late, but it was a rough holiday week, so hope y'all fared well during last week, and we are going to put that behind us and look forward to some new aspects. So we are here with another 5 charts. We're here to look at these 5 charts kind of blind and raw, give you the lowdown in terms of how I read, but also what major planetary significances are, looking at the ascendant, the ruler of the chart, how the planets play out, teach you some astrology along the way, have some fun and good laughs, maybe some life lessons thrown in, and that's kind of what we're about to do. If you would like to donate your chart to the live stream, feel free to private message me your birth date, birthplace, exact birth time. I'll add you to the list. The list is rather long, so please be patient, but we will message you when your chart is featured. And if you'd like to learn astrology or schedule a private session, you can always do so via my website at scorpiorisingastrology.com. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll pull up some charts. Which I did not do beforehand. Bad Sam. Okay, so let's look at Marcia as our first chart. Whoop. We are not looking at full screen mode. That is not going to be a pleasant angle. Okay. So Marcia's chart looks a little something like this. We've got Aries on the ascendant, co-present with North Node and Saturn. Saturn Aries retrograde in the first house. Ouch, that's some major life lesson stuff. Ruler of the chart is in the 6th at 29 degrees. Fascinating. Right on the edge. Whenever we have a planet on the edge, there's a lot of transition that's happening in this chart already, just from the first 2 aspects. Mercury as well at 29 degrees, right on the edge of Libra in the 7th. Good old Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Gemini. Okay, here we go. Let's start interpreting. So, when we look at an Aries ascendant is normally a little bit more bold, a little bit more brash, a little bit more in your face, very much embodying the leadership qualities, but also that cardinal fire energy, right? We have an exception to this, though. We have a major exception to this, because Saturn, Lord of Restriction, is in Aries, the sign of his detriment, and is retrograde. So all of that Aries kind of spunk, all of that Aries energy, that vitality of Aries, that's really held back. And there's an issue with moving forward, period, in Marcia's chart. An issue moving forward in many, many different ways, but the energy to move forward nonetheless. That Saturn in Aries retrograde is kind of like a brick wall that continuously becomes present in the chart, because when Aries wants to move forward, but then Saturn is so close to the ascendant, and Saturn is in such a terrible place in the sign opposite his exaltation of Libra and going backwards in the skies, that's a really tough Saturn. And the ascendant's just a degree away, like about to ram into that wall. And so throughout the life, we're going to have this other part of Marcia who's just constantly hitting that wall, that sense of restriction of how to do it better, but better is never enough, right? And we pair that with the ruler of Marcia's chart, who is Mars, in the 6th house of work, which naturally makes you a workaholic, my dear. And so, again, for you to have all of this urge to do, to be, to contribute, right? But you keep being told, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, that's not possible. Like we have a really intense tension would be a good way to say it in the chart with everything that's happening with that Saturn and the Lord of the chart. The Earth planet is in a fire sign. The fire planet is in an Earth sign. We have these 2 elements kind of fighting at each other. One is cold, one is hot. One is stop, one is go. And the conflict between the 2 is just kind of detrimental, right? So we're going to need to figure out how we break through that. And how do we break through that? I really think that the two skills that come forward in terms of a solution to that Saturn and that Mars are going to be your moon in Gemini in the third, which is where you get your love of learning and your love of teaching. Very, very excellent communicator, great skills when it comes to using your words wisely and conveying your message to others, which is so interesting because it's like you will write the email and you will make the proposal and you will put everything so clearly written out or verbally expressed, yet the answer is still no. And at that point, you have to realize that it really has nothing to do with you. Instead, we need to rely on your Scorpio sun. That Scorpio sun in the 8th is a very intuitive placement. The 8th is the 8th house that is kind of intuitive by nature, but intuitive in terms of business and taxes and estates and managing resources. It's a chess house, right? It's a house that is black and white, right? But it's still a complicated game. And Sun in Scorpio knows how to navigate that really, really well. And when you're told no, when you're held back, when you're given that red flag or the gas pedal just stops working, right? We need to be able to intuitively know why that is. And the Scorpio sun really helps you do that. The moon in Gemini, to a certain extent, with a little bit of telepathy going on there, you understand the why behind it all. And you've got the doing kind of engine in your chart as well. So as long as you don't get shut down by other people shutting you down, right? As long as you're able to keep moving forward and letting your intuition and your ability to communicate really thrive in your chart, I think that's how we overcome these chronic obstacles. And I mean, your parents were constantly telling you to think outside the box and think about something in a different way anyway. So I think you have those skills kind of in spades. You are really working on developing a core personality this time around with the North Node in the first house. So I think as you develop and as you grow, the big thing to just be aware of is, hey, I'm not doing this for you, right? I'm doing this for me. And that being a major way to kind of let the chart sing. Let's see, Venus in the 9th ruling the 7th. That's fun. Although you're not really here to develop major relationships, there are going to be several relationships that present themselves to you abroad via distance. Also people who are a little bit more international, a little bit more worldly. You may find a spouse via travels. Where's your Taurus house? Especially if you travel for work or travel for financial gain. You may fall in love with somebody or have a long-term relationship with somebody who is not from your country of living. Let's see, but you are looking for somebody that you can kind of be, oh, well, that's fun. That is fun. So that's where the 29 degrees comes in. So your Mars and Mercury are both at 29 degrees, right on the cusp of that sign. And whenever a planet is on the cusp of a sign, there's always this need to move forward in that area of the life. There's always this next step that needs to be taken. And that's what you're really here to work on as well, especially with Mars ruling the chart and Mercury here. I think there is this challenge where it's like you are looking for a particular type of person, and that type of person is very worldly and spiritual and well-traveled and, somewhat exotic, right? But is also kind and just and very, very much a Libra. From that perspective. However, you're also looking for somebody that can help you in business. You're also looking for somebody who can kind of develop a life with you, not just a partnership, but also potentially work in the same fields and be in business together. But on the flip side, you're also looking to change that. And you're also looking to move that rulership. and also put work as the priority instead of the relationships, because what you'll realize throughout the life is that relationships are really only here to be a distraction. And that's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn when our culture is so focused on partnership and togetherness, right? But you're really here to understand that togetherness is not always valuable, right? Separation is sometimes valuable. Hyper-focus is sometimes valuable. And that being a major area of your chart to kind of explore and expand upon. Excellent. Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate you donating your chart to the live streams. And for some reason, Facebook has again decided to put my live stream as non-public. So strange, but now the live stream is public. Technology. Y'all are killing me. You stopped putting my Facebook posts on private for the dailies, but now you're screwing with my live streams. Okay, let's go to Helen. Helen is chart number 2 in the live stream. Nice Scorpio rising, moon in Scorpio. Sun in Cancer. That's a ding, 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 triple water sign. Mars is ruling the house of work from the 8th. That's good entrepreneurship right there. And North Node in the 11th of friendships, ruled by Mercury in the 10th. Famous friends. Good stuff. Okay, Helen, let's talk about your chart. So we've got a Scorpio rising. Scorpio rising is an interesting dynamic because you also have your moon in Scorpio and your sun in Cancer. Those are 3 water signs in the top 3. If you're not familiar with the idea of the top 3, I'll be doing a workshop on those this Saturday on 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But the top 3 are basically our major personality indicators, right? The ascendant rules the core self, the moon rules our emotional needs, and the sun rules how we behave in the world. And for you to put water as your primary element in that scheme, right, that gives you certain blessings and certain detriments. And I speak from personal experience, being a Scorpio rising with sun and moon in Cancer, so kind of like flip-flop of your placements. But for me, if there was anything that I could kind of impart to you as a triple water sign, it's understanding that physical water is very important. Hydration levels, very important, especially with Mars ruling your chart, prone to dehydration. Yeah. But when we look at your chart as well, emotions are going to be the staple kind of force in your life. Feelings in general. Your ability to feel, your ability to keep your feelings clean, your ability to feel other people's feelings and separate your feelings from their feelings. The intuitive side is really fun, but the intuitive side can get really messy. How do you care for somebody who does not want to be cared for? All of those lessons that come along with the compassionate but boundaryless and squishy element of water. Now with your moon in Scorpio, it's a pretty tight dynamic, because normally when we see moon in Scorpio, the moon in her detriment, her least favorite sign, the emotions are very hidden, right? But the emotions are also very close to your ascendant. Yeah. And so I think one of the things that you're learning to do is learning how to hide your emotions. Yeah. And figuring out how apathy can be helpful, right? But apathy can also be toxic. And having your emotions on your sleeve can also be toxic, right? But hiding them too long to where they fester can also be toxic. So there are multiple levels to this emotional equation that I think you'll learn how to master over the course of your life. But we can always talk about those things privately. Let's see. Where do we want to go next? Let's go with work. I think the entrepreneur placement in your chart is rather fascinating. The ruler of your chart is Mars. He is in the 8th house of business. And from the 8th house of business, he rules the 6th house of work. This is an excellent astrological formation for entrepreneurship in general. Also, great 8th house topics like taxes and estates and appraisals. You know, you understanding the chess game of what is valuable, right? And the strategy of that value and mastering other people's money. I also really, really like, from a financial and business perspective, the idea of the ruler of your second house of finance being Jupiter in the 10th house of success. I love that. So you having great accounting placements as well, great financial placements, period. Although prone to extravagant spending and prone to having a misunderstanding of your own personal finances, but a mastery of everybody else's, with Neptune being in the second house. We have the North Node in the 11th, which puts the north of your personal compass in the 11th house of friends and extended family and social groups and tribes. Yeah. So you building your connections is a really big part of the life as well. And not just building your life, but building your life in terms of social groups and friendships with the most fantastic friends possible. Right? Having Mercury ruling the chart, or ruling the North Node from the 10th house of success, it's just such a famous friends placement, right? Friends that are extravagant, friends that are kind of at the top of their own personal mountain, friends that are just very extra in every sense of the word. And you collecting those people throughout the life as a boon to your life and as a kind of mastery of connection, because you're here to connect, but you're also learning how to distance. So instead of focusing on kind of relationships or family, you're here to focus on friendships. Let's see. Again, very similar formation. We have Venus ruling the 7th house of relationships through its cusp of Taurus, but Venus is in the 8th house of business, so you're not just looking for a partner in life, you're looking for a business partner as well. The sun in Cancer in the 9th, you're very much wanting to attend to other people's spiritual needs. And I get that. But one of the things that I think is important for you to understand as somebody who would potentially be a service provider, a holistic health practitioner, somebody who would embody that Cancer archetype of the nurturer, yeah, especially from a spiritual place or an international traveling place with the 9th house, is that your job is not to make somebody feel better, right? That is their own responsibility. You can facilitate that process, yeah, but whether they choose to let you in enough to where they can actually become whole, that is their decision. And that can be a tricky lesson to understand, especially for a triple water sign. Cool. I think that's pretty much it, Helen. I think we've covered a lot. Thank you for donating your chart. I very, very much appreciate it. Let's just go ahead and check in with Facebook, make sure that everything is still public there. Yep, we are all good. It didn't switch back. Excellent. So let's go ahead and we'll move to Shar. Shar is chart number 3 in our live stream. Cheers to Shar. How you doing? An Aquarius ruled chart. Aquarius ruled chart with Lord of the chart in the 7th. You're just a sucker for relationships, Char. You're a sucker for relationships. And that's okay. Everybody loves a little love. But when you're constantly getting the short end of the stick, that is not an ideal situation. Yeah, growth, success, learning, travel. Okay, we got that. Similarities in the charts this morning. Lots of 8th house focus. Yeah, except this chart is very heavy in the relationship department. very heavy in the relationship department. Okay, so Aquarius ascendant gives you this, and I know, Shar, that you've been told that you're a Virgo, and you are a Virgo. In fact, you're a double Virgo. You have your sun and your moon in Virgo. We'll get to that in a second. But having your Aquarius ascendant does imbue you with a core personality that is rather distant, rather aloof, rather airy, yeah, very intellectual, flighty but scientific, isolated yet philanthropic. You know, it's a difficult energy to master, which is why Aquarius is one of those signs that a lot of people just don't understand. Yeah, they're often described as alien, and that's okay. That's okay. It's from me as an astrologer studying Aquarius. I think one of the things that constantly comes into my mind is the archetype of Albert Einstein. Yeah. Crazy hair, talks kind of weird, walks kind of weird. Genius. But not everybody gets it. And that's okay. Right? So that's core personality for you, Shar. Now, the ruler of your chart is going to be this Saturn and Leo in the 7th. And when we find the ruler of the chart in the 7th house of relationships, this is your obsession. Right? This is the domain which you lord over. And you're here to lord over the house of relationships. And you do this in a balanced way, I think. Saturn gives you restriction, but Leo gives you fire and pizzazz. Leo gives you compassion and heart, whereas Saturn gives you rules and boundaries. And I like that. I like that formation. Leo as an astrological sign warms up Saturn just enough to where Saturn becomes less icy and more fluid, less of a boulder, and more of a foundation to lay a house on, right? But again, you're not just here to find a partner, you're here to find a business partner as well. The sun in Virgo is in the 8th house of business, ruling the 7th house. And that tells me that you're in search for somebody to find partnership in all aspects of life, not just in romantic relationships and spousal relationships and connections, but also the idea of you going into business with that person. Having your sun and your moon and your Venus all in Virgo in the 8th house does make you very focused on business, estates, other people's money. It's the house of entrepreneurship. It's also the house of death, and the idea of passing on legacy through the passing of people. Also kind of a very important part of your life and the chart. Feng Shui. Now, having a new moon in the chart is a fun dynamic for somebody who already has Aquarius on the rising. And one of the things that you will constantly be called out for in your relationships is not showing your emotions. Yeah. Virgo is all about managing. Yeah. And when you put your ego in the sign of management, it makes you a great manager. But when you put your emotions in the sign of the manager, emotions don't really like to be managed, in case you haven't noticed that, right? And the fact that your moon is new, meaning that in the sky at the time that you were born, the moon was only a sliver. You could barely see it. And that's kind of how your emotions are also echoed in the life, is you keep things too close to the vest. You manage them into oblivion, and then you can't see them, they can't see them, and it becomes really hard for you to kind of vomit those feelings up because they are managed within an inch of their poor little lives. So I think it is important for you to understand that there is such a thing as being too withdrawn, as being too emotionally perfect, as being too stable, right? And that's, I think, one of the reasons why you put Leo in your 7th house, is you're looking for a partner who understands the constructive need to be flamboyant and extra. Now, one of the things that you will struggle with, especially in the areas of success and learning, is going to be decision making. We have Mars in Libra, sign of his fall, in the 9th house of higher education, travel, foreigners, spirituality. But then also that Mars is ruling the North Node in Scorpio in the 10th house of success. So where do you go next? What do you do next? What do you learn next? How do you find success? Those are all answers that should not be succinct, right? It's a process. It's a game. It's not necessarily I found the answer. The meaning of life is that life has meaning. It's not necessarily one answer. It's all the answers. And the more that you understand that, the more that you start to explore and let your expectations of life kind of settle. And find the formula, but understand that formulas are imperfect because the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. Yeah, that's part of the core lessons of your chart for sure. I think that's it, Char. I think the rest of your chart is kind of going cold for me, but hopefully that was helpful for you. So thank you for donating your charts to the live stream. Let's go ahead, just pop over to Facebook real quick. Everybody's doing silent stuff on Facebook. I swear they're blocking my posts. Okay, Jacqueline. Jacqueline's up next. Hey, Jacqueline. How you doing? How you doing, Jackie? Okay, so we've got a Leo ascendant, making the Sun the ruler of the chart. Sun is in the 3rd house of teaching, co-present with Venus and Libra. Mwah. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. Such a fan. Such a fan. But then the secrets and the toxicity and the family dynamic. And the intuitive repercussions that came with that. Oh, the mastery of money. That's fun. And then you're approaching your 2nd Saturn return right now. So starting December 21st, or December 19th, I think it is. 17th, 19th, when Saturn goes into Aquarius. That's going to be the start of a good year and a half of relationship transformation, for sure. Cool. Okay, Jacqueline, let's go ahead and break down the chart step by step. So Leo Ascendant gives you that wow factor, gives you that that fixed fire energy. Woo! That fixed fire energy of Leo, which is a little bit more flamboyant, which is a little bit more boisterous, also a little bit more hearthy. One of the functions of Leo at its highest expression is to be that central family fire that allows you to kind of cook on and tell stories around and roast marshmallows on and, just be the center of attention, not in a look at me sort of way, but in a I'm here to make you feel warm and cared for, right? So all of those tendencies of Leo definitely rule over your chart. So when you think of yourself as a Libra sun, understand that you are also a Leo ascendant, and that's part of your makeup as well. Speaking of your Libra sun is in the 3rd house of writing, teaching, and communication. So the Lord of your chart being in that house means that you're a natural-born teacher. You're a natural-born orator. Wouldn't surprise me if you've got a voice on you. But then also, not only do you have the sun in Libra, but you also have the ruler of Libra, Venus, Our Lady Venus, in her home sign of Libra, in the 3rd house as well, which gives you extra blessings, extra grace in that department, which is just flawless. I love it. Having Our Lady of Perpetual Abundance in the 3rd house of teaching with the ruler of your chart is a powerful combination. Absolutely powerful combination, and I'm so thrilled for you with that placement. Now, what we need to understand about this in your chart as well is we have Jupiter opposing both of those formations from the 9th. So you're going to have an issue specifically with the authority of higher education. Yeah. People who know more than you just because they have a piece of paper, or supposedly know more than you, right? Your ability to teach and your ability to know what to teach is second to none. Really. Astrologically, you just have those gifts. they are tattooed on your spirit, and there's no way to rub them off. And people will be jealous of that, because you can't teach teaching. You can't. It's not a thing. You can develop it as a skill, but either you know how to convey information or you don't. And because your Venus and your Sun are co-present in the third, like, it's brilliant. And I love that for you, but other people will want to steal that light. So just be aware of that. Be careful of that. And that really goes into kind of your mastery and your understanding of what it means to not just be a teacher, but also to be a tutor. Yeah. Somebody who doesn't just teach material, but somebody who coaches, somebody who is able to pull somebody out of their darkest, confused places. With your North Node in Cancer in the 12th house of karmic healing, like, you're here to learn how to be almost a savior. Yeah, for a lot of people. Moon in Pisces as well in the 8th does bring forward this intuitive need to sit down with people and reassess value. And I think all of these traits together in your chart, especially with Mars and Scorpio in the 4th, allows you to understand the deepest, darkest desires and flaws of a person, remind them of how strong they are, and help them to overcome those perceived flaws in a way that really moves the needle for them. Yeah. So although you are a teacher, I would take that one step further, and I would call you a tutor or a coach. Yeah. What else? A well-placed Saturn in Aquarius, but retrograde in the 7th house. You know, you're really attracted to somebody who is learned, who is mature, who is stubborn, but intellectual, who doesn't really move forward as much as you would like, but who is extremely innovative nonetheless, and very tinkery, always in the hobbies with fine-tuned details, and very scientific in their own way. You know, you just absolutely adore the way that their mind works, and that mental connection is going to be the first thing you notice in a mate. But again, that same placement is going to be activated for you coming up as soon as Saturn moves into Aquarius. For the next year and a half, you're going to be awakening your Saturn again for the second time. And that Saturn return, that second Saturn return, is really going to be a relationship mover, just like it was around the time that you were 30, right? So a repeat of those lessons. It will be easier this time around because you've already been through it once before. But those astrological formations, those rite of passages, will be coming up again. The toxic family dynamic, I think, does need to be addressed and healed. That is a deeper topic than I personally feel comfortable kind of going into during the live streams. But just know that, you know, the Mars and Scorpio in the 4th, the Neptune and Scorpio in the 4th does have some pretty sinister themes in the family dynamic that I think will need to be addressed in terms of the bloodline, which is why you have your fear of travel and authorities with higher education, is because some of that is wrapped into the family dynamic. Yeah, so that will need to be addressed at some point. But I think that's it. I think those are the major themes of the chart. Cool. Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate you donating your chart to the live stream. Good morning, Jackie. We actually just got done with your chart. Hope that you enjoyed that interpretation. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Then we're on to our last chart, who's going to be Jason. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Cheers. A Libra on the ascendant, sugarcoating the chart with a Venus in Capricorn in the 4th. Saturn cap, Neptune cap, Uranus cap, all in the 4th. That's a very interesting family dynamic, Jason. Then you've got an exalted Jupiter in the 10th of success. That's lovely. A really sensitive Pisces moon in the 6th makes you a great counselor. And then Sun and Sag in the 3rd for that teaching archetype. Ooh, an interest in money, an interest in finance. Yeah, but family does come first, unfortunately, in the chart. And I say unfortunately, but you know why I say that. Okay, so let's break down the chart step by step. So Libra on the ascendant sugarcoats the chart. Libra is the sign of balance, of justice, of fair play. Fair is the mantra of everybody with a Libra ascendant. Now, why isn't this fair? Or peacekeeping, yeah, is a good way to say that Libra on the ascendant just wants everything to be balanced. That's all they really want. But you don't just have Libra on the ascendant, which gives you this nice kind of coat of sugar. You walk into a room and everybody's like, oh, he's here, you know. But the Lord of your chart, Venus, she's in the 4th house of family, along with 3 other planets. One of them being Saturn, who's not always the nicest. Saturn in the 4th house of family brings a very strict family dynamic to the table. A very heavy, a very boulderish family dynamic, where family is everything. Family is the rock, right? Family is the rock on which you build your house. However, that is not always going to be a purely loving place. In fact, Venus, although she's in the earth sign of Capricorn, Capricorn is a little bit too cold for Venus. You know, Venus prefers things to be abundant. Venus prefers things to be overflowing. Venus prefers things to be unconditional. And Saturn is one of the signs that rules over contracts and business. And, you know, if your family upbringing was treated like a business transaction, that can impress upon you a certain lack of love, right? So we might need to excavate that Venus a little bit and pull the diamond from the rubble and see if she can't come out to play a little bit more throughout the life. Redefining the family as less of a hard, rocky, mountainous climb and more of a but I mean, their foundation is also important too. Like, they're no nonsense. Yeah, so at least you know where they stand. As opposed to the past chart where it was just complete ambiguity. So I think that's also something that kind of needs to be understood is like, hey, they're not going to be the most lovely, yeah, but they are loving, and that loving is harsh. Meh. Let's talk about this really sensitive Pisces moon in the 6th. When it comes to your work dynamic, like, I don't know why your feelings are so present at work, and hopefully you really, really understand how emotionally triggered you are by what you do. You know, how spiritual, how artistic it is, but also the jobs that you choose, you're so emotionally invested in them. You know, you might naturally find yourself in the fields of social work. You might naturally find yourself in the fields of service or taking care of others, especially if you were to take care of others who were famous, like a personal assistant. But the emotional ties are going to be very fierce. And that's kind of something to be aware of, is even if you were to work with non-emotional things, right? Like contracts, as Venus might dictate, as the ruler of your chart, you still emotionally invest way too much into those topics. So understanding your emotional boundaries will be important throughout the life. Understanding that moon in Pisces in the 6th of work really does give you that wishy-washy energy when it comes to doing things that do not require emotion, but you put the emotion up there anyways, which can be a little bit difficult to master. I think one of the goals of your life is to have children. The North Node in the 5th house of children, sexuality, creativity, you know, it is a big theme in the chart, especially with Saturn in the 4th of family ruling that North Node in the 5th of children. I think that you specifically surrounding yourself with children on a regular basis, stepping into the role of the parent, all those things are going to be very, very important for you throughout the life. And then, you know, we have this lovely Libra ascendant, this super sensitive Pisces moon, and then this very spunky Sagittarius sun in the third house of writing, teaching, communication, as well as Mercury in Sagittarius here. It gives you a very quick mind, gives you a very humorous disposition as well. You're always the first to crack a joke. And I think that that's great. I think that that's an excellent way for you to discharge some of that Pisces moon tension. Having the sun in the third really does give you the ability to teach and speak very well. But I think it's important for you to understand that, again, you could be very good at what you do. You could be very good at what you do, but will your family and your ties to your family allow it? Will they hold you back? You know, will their ideas, the impressions that they gave you, the rock that they were, that helped you to climb and to stabilize, you know, will eventually become a ball and chain? You know, so understanding that dynamic will be really, really important. Last kind of note that I wanted to talk about is money and relationships. So you've connected your money and your relationship houses. Your seventh house is ruled by Aries, so you're attracted to a partner who would be very leadership oriented, very charismatic, very go, 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 do, do, do. They have a very fiery, radiant personality, but then also there is this financial component to relationships. So you may feel the need to buy your partner, which is always a toxic kind of situation. So we might need to investigate how money and relationships go hand in hand in your chart. But you have a really strong financial house. Mars in Scorpio, Pluto Scorpio, just 5 degrees away from each other in the second house of finance is a powerhouse. You know, you're really good at saving. You're really good at conserving financially. There's a lot of very interesting dynamics in the financial house that I think are really powerful. But at the same time, because you connect those financial resources to your relationships, there is this idea of potentially needing to buy or gift give as a love language to the extreme. Yeah. And then on the flip side, interpretation-wise, you may marry into great sums of wealth, hidden great sums of wealth, because Scorpio doesn't do anything above board. Cool. I think that answers the major questions of the baseline of the chart. Cool. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you donating your chart to the live stream very, very much. And thank you, everybody, for watching on Instagram as well as Facebook. We'll wrap it up here for today. If you do have any questions, feel free to, or if you would like to be featured on the live streams, feel free to private message me your birth date, birthplace, exact birth time. I will add you to the list. The list is rather long, so please be patient, but I will message you when your chart is featured. Everything is recorded both on the Instagram live stream channel, and then also I put these on YouTube as well. So if you'd like to search on YouTube for ScorpioRisingAstrology.com, my website, you'll see the channel. The channel has lots of fun videos, including a series on the signs that I did, about 20-minute videos for each signs way back when. If you would like to schedule a private session or maybe take a class or learn some astrology, I've got a top 3 class coming up where I'm going to be talking about your sun, moon, and rising. That's going to be on December 5th. 2020. The recording will be available on the website for purchase after that. We've done a couple of those, and those are all up on the website. Just go to ScorpioRisingAstrology.com and connect with me through there. But until next time, have a fantastic rest of your Monday, and may the stars be ever in your favor.